Hey, all you Arizona lovers. This is the Finding Arizona podcast. I'm your host, Jose.
And I'm your producer, Brittany.
And here at Finding Arizona Podcast, we collect the local stories of all entrepreneurs and from around the valley. So join us at findingarizonapodcast.com, where you can hear every episode and see it as well at
YouTube. Like, subscribe, and comment below who you want to see next on our show. And when you're ready to start your podcast, you found the right spot. Found House, your next podcast production company.
Now, let's get back to the show. Score big with SeatGeek. Whether it's concerts, sports, or live events, SeatGeek has you covered. Use code FindingArizona to get a fantastic $20 discount on your SeatGeek tickets. Catch your favorite live events hassle-free with extra savings. Visit SeatGeek.com and make every experience unforgettable. Welcome back, everybody, to the Finding Arizona podcast. I'm your host, Jose, and as always, we bring in fantastic guests every week. We are just so excited to have the two of you aboard, and we were just, again, we're talking off air. We're doing a lot of stuff. These guys are podcasters themselves. It's Be It Till You See It podcast. Thank you so much for coming aboard, both of you. I'm going to let you introduce yourself so I don't mess this up this time. And then that way it'll be fantastic. We won't have any bloopers or any screw ups. So go take it away. We'll start with Brad first.
Okay. My name is Brad Crowell. I'm the second half of the Be It pod. Lesley started it a couple years ago. And when we were brainstorming what it was going to be, we decided we always have a conversation about the interview after the interview. Yeah. And we thought, what if we just included that in the weekly pod feed, the combo about the interview. And so I get to appear on every other one of them. But we live up in Las Vegas, and we were down in Arizona working for Pilates at the time when we all had a chance to meet.
Yes.
I'm Lesley Logan, and I host the Be It Till You See It podcast, and I get to do the interviews, which, I mean, Jose, I totally understand. Like, there's like this weird pressure when you're interviewing people. Like, you almost are like, do I know what I'm doing? And that's the Be It Till You See It episode. The theme of it is that people always ask, like, how are you so confident? You just like everything you want, like you just make it happen. And I'm like, wow, that's what you see? Because I'm so nervous on the inside. Like before we hit record on this, I was doing a live with three of my dear friends. And I was literally shaking like under, like below the camera, like my hands were shaking, my feet were shaking. And so when I was telling Brad, I want to have a podcast that helps people understand like how to do the thing that they want to do. He was like, okay, what do we call it? And I was like, well, I don't fake it till I make it. I act as if I'm already got it. And then I work backwards from there. So that's how Be It Till You See It came about. And
awesome.
We like to work together. I get to hear his opinion about people. So that's really fun. I mean, you and Brittany know, like you get to talk to this person, like, what did you like about it? What did you like about it? And I find like it's a really cool way to have conversations and hopefully inspire conversations with our listeners and their partners or friends.
Yeah, I think what you guys offer is just something that we all do on a routine basis. It's like we hear or we actually intentionally go to things and we participate in whatever we're passionate about or intrigued about. And we have a discussion or a breakdown afterwards with either someone who's curious about it or a significant other or even a friend that was there with you. And so I think it's really encouraging that people get to see and witness something like this because again, it's kind of a routine, but we take it for granted because we don't record it on a daily basis or on a functional scale like this. But I think it is something that we all can say that we do on our own kind of scope of life and what we do as a routine. But it is, like you said, it's different when it's like you're the one doing it. And I'll tell you this, I was like, you were bringing it up and I was like, the power of editing. Like it's just like we seem confident and always it's just like I like to say I'm like I am very much a cheerleader, but I'm always the nervous one in the conversation. I may be the host, but I'm always so nervous because a lot of the times it's like these really great minded individuals that I have no clue about, but I want to ask these very intriguing questions. And I hope they're along for the ride with me.
I totally understand that. And I also, so I just will like, I find like just admitting that I'm going to be a fangirl.
Yeah.
I think it's like the way to do the way I like to do it. And
Yeah.
also, I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. And I'm sure people listening do this too, that like we have to be the most unique, the most amazing, ask the most unique question that's never been asked. But really, like all our favorite singers, if they were to sing a new song at a concert, we'd be really upset about it. Like, I don't know the words to that one. Sing me the one I want. Like we saw Sting and he was like, I'm not going to play Roxanne. And I was like, that's not why I came. Came for Roxanne. I know
Roxanne.
that's the police, but I came for that one. And so I think like giving ourselves permission to like ask the questions that may not seem so unique, but also, and then also be our nervous self, because that's normal. It's okay to be nervous.
Inherently, we also put our own spin on it in a way that does give it a different perspective, because especially as a host, one thing that immediately sets any interview apart is their audience. And the host knows their audience and they understand what matters to the audience. They understand the perspective. They understand why their audience is tuning in. Yeah. And so when you're asking questions, you're almost like fending for them. You're asking questions on behalf of them. And so it always will put a different perspective on the question. Even if it's a question that the person has been asked before, it's through a different lens.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, now we're getting into the questioning. I'm gonna jump right into it, and it just kind of asks you guys. Brad gave us a little bit of the origin story, but I'd like to even go further. Will you kind of provide us how you guys met, and then B, how like this relationship kind of also helped encourage kind of what you guys do on a daily basis together?
Oh my God.
We're going to do the very
abbreviated meeting story, because our meeting story is one that I hope someday is a movie. It's its own thing because it's got twists and turns. But the short story is we were introduced by a mutual friend. Okay. And thankfully she did introduce us, because I don't know that we would have actually like found each other out. Like we worked in LA around the same places. Like at one point for over a year, we worked across the street from each other. We ate at the same shopping center and never
same restaurants.
And
maybe saw each other, never met.
Yeah. So at any rate, like we were introduced by a mutual friend, and it took us 9 months to go from meeting to dating. Then from there to being engaged. But where I think the origin stories of us working together is during the dating process, Brad flirted with me by building me a new website.
Oh, nice. That's super hot.
Hey, babe, your website's crap. Let me build you a new one.
And then he was like, "Oh, you should have like a newsletter where you send out tips and advice so that you can build your list, and you should be on YouTube and talk about
running back. She'll keep coming back."
Yes.
What did we call that?
It was tips of inspiration, or
it was like tips.
It'll come to us.
I can't remember.
Notes of inspiration.
N2I.
Yeah.
Notes to inspire.
That's what it was. Nice. Notes to inspire. That's how the email list started. And I was like, why am I building an email list? He's like, you got to have a list. And then I went on YouTube and I was like, who am I to be on YouTube? And, and he's like, well, no one is doing what you're doing about Pilates on YouTube, so you should do it. And so he little by little was like kind of directing the things that he thought I should be doing. And then those things made my business grow to a place where I was traveling the world teaching Pilates. And so in 2019, we got married when did we get married? 2015?
2015.
Okay. We got married in 2015. And one of us remembers the date and the other one doesn't. We just trade turns.
But
But when we in 2019, my business had grown to a place where I either needed to hire someone or he needed to come on board. And I was really lucky that he actually has goals and his vision for his life align with what my business was doing. And so now it's our business, and he came on board in 2020.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I love that. And that's really like one part. Kudos to you to like slip in there and be like, hey, look, I got this. Let me help you out here.
Hey babe, what's your DNS?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, in all honesty too, it's kind of a little bit of like my similar story with my wife, where it's like we met at a co-working office. So my daily job is like landscape architecture, and I was working in a co-working office and meeting, just people in the office, and she had an office there, and she was interviewing people. And so I would walk by the kitchen, and there's this meeting room there, and I was like, who's this girl? Like, she's my age. I was like, who's this woman interviewing people? And I just was curious. I was like, she's pretty, and she's like also very intimidated because she had a business. Like, here I am just fresh out of grad school. I'm like, I don't have a business. She's intimidating. She's got all of her ducks in a row. And, she one day came up to me and was like, can I borrow your Wi-Fi password? And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. And that was my in.
Did you tell her that she had to give it back?
Yeah, I told her, if I give you this, you have to give me your phone number. And that was the start of it.
I love this so much, but also for the singles listening, like, this is how you know a girl's into you. For sure, she could have figured out the Wi-Fi password, but like, that was her way of like talking to you. Like, I just like people like, I don't know how people are interested. Women will tell you if we're interested, where you're like, we'll come up with an excuse to find out information we probably could have found out on our out.
Yeah, and speaking of women will find a reason to have a conversation. Lesley, the mutual friend that connected us. This goes a little bit into the story, but so we had met at an event, and after the event, I did not follow up, and so she called her friend and said, if you like, her friend really wanted the scarf. She had lost a scarf and Lesley had it. Yeah. And she said, I'll give you my scarf if you get me a date with Brad. Right now, I didn't know this. And so our mutual friend called me, and she and I were talking about this other thing that I like, she was going to like do. And she was like, well, hey, what are you doing on Saturday? Why don't you come to this like event, this movie? And I was like, no, I'm super busy. And she convinced me I had to go to this event. And I was like, fine, I'll go to this event. Right. And so I go to the event, and of course, who's at the event? Lesley. Right. And so I sat next to her, and we started to talk more, and that like literally got the whole ball rolling. I did not know that this was a date at all.
Oh my gosh.
Until the second half of us hanging out that night, when it was like pretty clear that we were going to be alone.
He didn't find out about the scarf for a long time. And I was a little afraid to share that part because, like, I didn't want him to feel manipulated into it.
That's wholesome. And so like, it's a beautiful story that you guys should write a movie about. That is wonderful.
Oh, we've already scripted it. It's we've already written the whole thing out, and it's from both of our perspectives, because cool. What was going through my head, what was going through her head, and like, we had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah. And I was like, there's no way he didn't know until the second. But again, it's like, you guys, we'll be oblivious. Like, but also fun little thing is like, you were probably super confident because you had zero idea it was a date. You were probably like super like,
he was doing great. He did great.
Like fun, charming. Like he was probably not even thinking about any kind of like, insecurities. And you were
100% no pressure, because I did not know that there was pressure.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was like, look at this guy. Cause there was one point where this big event, and at the end of the event, we were to the bathroom, and it's like 5,000 people are leaving a park, and he stood there and waited for me. I'm like, ooh, point for him. He doesn't even know he's on a date, but he waited for me to.
Good job, Brad. You nearly.
I have no recollection of that, but I'm super glad it happened.
Good. So I love your guys' story, because again, it shows how you guys really go about your your relationship, and now moving into the actual businessy part. Lesley, I know like you were trying to start and trying to become something, and now Brad is involved along the way for this. What I would like to know is a little bit about like, what was the conversation like as soon as you said, hey, I need you to be a part of this, like what we're doing. I need you to focus now, and like, sort of like, I'm hiring you. I want you to be more involved. What was that conversation like? And from Brad's perspective, how much weight did you take on your, was it an easy transition? Was it harder transition? What were some of the things going through your mind when she asked you?
So, for all the business owners out there, you can see yourself in this story. I hired a coach. I was in a group mastermind, and I was learning so much, and I was coming back and I was sharing everything with him, but he wasn't in the mastermind.
Yeah.
And he had his own businesses that he had started. So I was sharing it with him because
literally running 3 companies.
Okay.
yeah, because he had quit his full-time job and was like trying to make something happen, because also I was traveling the world and he wanted to come with me. So he was making his own business happen with other people.
Yeah.
And so I invested in this mastermind, and I was coming back, sharing the ideas, partially hoping he liked the information and kind of partially wanting help and wanted to be on the same page. And so when the mastermind ended, there was an opportunity to join it again. And I was like, I need you on the same page with me to help me. Because he was doing part-time work with my business. So I was like, you're doing this with me, but also you can think about it for your businesses as well.
Yeah.
In the first weekend of that, we had kind of accountability coaches, or just like coaches we could have that were part of the group. And his coach came up to me and he was like, what do you want? And I said, I would love Brad to work full-time with me, but I also don't want to be like, you need to give up your businesses to run my business. Cause that felt wrong. And I didn't know how to approach it. So he actually asked Brad, what does Brad want out of his life? Not his business, but his life. And he was like, well, your wife's business does that. So what do you think? And Brad was like, well, that could be cool. So Brad's accountability coach literally mediated the conversation that between the two of us.
Between us, yeah.
So that we could have it, because it was just, it's really important. I don't want to discount his dreams or
of course,
what he had created, what he had spent time and invested. And also his businesses were with his partners, like his friends. So that's like telling you that your friends, I don't want to work with you anymore. So it's just a lot of things attached to it. So that's how the conversation went. It was an hour-long conversation where Brad was like, I think this would be really cool. And he got really excited. So now I'll let him answer your question.
Yeah. I mean, the reality is, once I built that website, someone has to maintain it. Right. So I actually had a web development company at the time with my business partner. And so, we had clients all over the place. And one of those clients was Lesley. And so we would just do whatever work for her needed to be done. But most of the time it was me doing it, not my business partner doing it. And most of the time it was because all the other clients got their stuff handled first. And then Lesley was last on the list. And I was working late to make it happen and all the things. So the truth is that, my background is entrepreneurial, in that I worked for a startup house. So my role in the company was to poke my head into the different projects that were happening and make sure that we weren't losing too much money across the board. Yeah. So I had years of experience seeing how different businesses operated and, marketed themselves and, talked to their clients and all the things. And so I had a plethora of ideas for when Lesley was out doing her thing and, sharing why she might want to tackle a project or add it into the fold. So I kind of was already participating behind the scenes, even though I wasn't executing the work. I was helping create the plan. And that's what I did at my day job. Yeah. And then when I finally quit the day job and I was working full time for myself, I had different business partners, 3 different businesses, and life was chaos. And to be honest, it wasn't going. I was at the end of my runway of I had put a bunch of money aside so that I could make sure I wasn't screwed. Yeah. And but it had been a year and a half of a slog, fight to make sure that I was making the money I needed and do the things I needed to do. And then all of a sudden there was this like the thing that I was afraid of the most was I always wanted to work more closely with Lesley, but what I was afraid of the most was something that I had experienced before. I had put pressure on another project. It was a band. I was in a band and we were trying to make the band make money, and eventually it crushed it. Right. And I was really concerned that what if I saddled my life myself to Lesley's business, and not only would it be her having to pay, for the life that she has already had, that same business would also have to pay for me and my life and my things too. And I was really worried that I was going to destroy by saddling it with too much pressure. And so what I was hoping would happen was that organically her business would grow to a point where it made sense to jump on. And that wasn't happening because there's only so much of one person to work on the thing. And I was doing all this other stuff. And so when we had our coach, effectively he said, hey, listen, I can show you how to not crush it. So, but in order to do that, you're going to have to step away from those other things that you've started because there's not enough time for you to try to juggle. There's not enough focus for you to try to do all the different things. Yeah. And I was ready. I was like super excited to be like, all right, we gave it past the good old college try with those other businesses.
Yeah.
One of them was pretty clear that it wasn't going to grow without like a cash injection. The other one was like fun, but it was really labor intensive. And then the last one, it just wasn't going. So once I stepped away, coming into Lesley's business, I was already intimately familiar with it. So it wasn't like, okay, cool. She wasn't like teaching me to do stuff because I had been helping her plan all the things behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
yeah. And then 2020 happened and all of the plans that we had for how we're going to grow the business went out the window because, you make a plan and the universe laughs. So we had a lot of fun there, but I think a clean slate is actually why it ended up working out really well for us.
I think that's absolutely right. I mean, you guys have, so I'll be honest, when I started this was like kind of like this thing where I'm like, I love doing this. And I have this story that I tell, which is true. It's like my grandfather was a storyteller. I've been around storytelling all my life and I was raised around it. And that was one of the things that propelled me forward when it came to not only the part of my life goal here is to be a really good storyteller, but also just kind of like ingrained in my whole soul is like this world of like, you have to be the listener, also be able to share your own light with others and things like that. So I really took it to heart when it came to the actual moment where it was like, oh, I'm actually doing something here with this podcast. And I really wanted to make it grow. But to me, I was like, I've been so worried about, from my perspective of like, it needs to grow slowly because I don't want it to get too big and then it loses its overall purpose. And I think that's the only other thing that has ever held me back, where it's like, you're moving too slowly, Jose. Like you gotta push yourself. But that's where Brittany comes in. And I really think that she's really pushed me on so many levels of like, not just personally, but like business, financial, life, and overall everything, because she is the yin to my yang in every perspective. And I love it because it allows me to still have confidence in what I believe in, but also give me the encouragement to leap forward and kind of take the ultimate, like, have a leap of faith, trust in what you're doing. And she's made this into a more business professional thing that has been a part of not only my life, but my whole family's like my son knows what podcasts are. And that's cool. It's really fun.
I think you bring up a really good point though, Jose. Like we kind of all need someone who shows us like, hey, look at where else you could go with this. Yeah. Because we can have big dreams. We can go, oh, not yet. Oh, I have to do the X, Y, and Z first. And it's because we make up a story in our head, or we really think that there is a ladder that we're supposed to climb, or that we need to get better at something before this can happen. And it's true. Like if you were to infuse cash into something before you have the plans ready, you could really blow things up. But also like if Brad hadn't told me and pushed me with some tears onto YouTube, I can tell you right now, my life would not be what it is today. And it's because I needed someone from outside my industry, someone from outside, didn't really understand the nuances of the industry that I'm in, to say, no, you should do it because no one else is doing it. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, what are people going to say? I'm going to piss people off. And, I didn't. But like I needed you. So we each need someone in our lives. And I think you probably, without knowing it, like I know I do the same thing for Brad and you do the same thing for Brittany in different ways. We all get to kind of be the person who goes, hey, look at this over here that actually you're doing really well. And you could just do it more.
Yeah. I love that you guys are really just pushing this thing of like togetherness and the bond that you have, but also just like, in your individual life, like you guys have so much to offer in these different realms that it's just like so uniquely you that it's just really amazing who you guys are. I mean, just as individuals, but even more as like a foundation together that you guys bring to this world. And it's just really great when it's like these relationships come about because so like you brought up we met each other well, you guys were working, you guys were doing some stuff, and we met each other at an event. And I had been to this event before the previous year, and it was the first time that they asked us to come back, and they asked Britt to do part of the conversation. And I was just
Cool.
there to support, really. I was just there to have fun and kind of be there and have, because I'd been there before and loved having conversations like these, but I think it was really fun to just really take it all in, because that sit down conversation part where we were all kind of meeting each other face to face was really fun for me. Because that's, I mean, as you know, it's like you're getting involved, you're getting chit chatty, and what really stood out to us was like you guys are pitching the speakers. So it was the first time that we got to have all the conversations, but I think we were sitting next to each other. What was it?
Yeah. We were like the podcasters were put together and people could like pitch to us. And that was an interest. I'll just say, like, I felt like, why am I here? Like, how am I an expert at how to pitch yourself?
We feel like that all the time because Brittany just did a design week over here in Phoenix, like Phoenix Design Week, where she had to have a conversation about podcasting, like, how to develop, how to, go about it. And so she was having conversations with me on how to do this speech. Yeah. And we were kind of going off of each other.
People think we're experts at things because we do it. But what's really cool was I don't know about you, but I felt like in that moment, I was like, okay, I don't have to help you understand how to pitch yourself to other people, but this is how you have to pitch yourself to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think like that helped me own what we are doing here together and like what we're doing. And also then I got to hear what other people wanted. And it's cool because on the different types of media that there's different reasons to pitch. There's different reasons why you want to be on these things. And it's really funny what people will see us as experts in. Because we can't read the label through the bottle, so you kind of, and you're like, oh, people think that you two really know how to start podcast companies. So, and I think you give the most honest advice when you're in that, because you're not coming with an ego and you get to share what it's going on. But it was really cool. And I find like kismet, because it's like, how would we have met before? Like that.
Exactly. I mean, in all honesty too, it's like, so Britt has never, like, I've done one Pilates class and it was the toughest thing I've ever done because of my body wasn't ready for it. But I mean, again, I have a high value of like trying new things. Like I'm honest to God, like I will give anything a shot once or twice. And I really do like to put myself out there because I think it's only fair. You only have one life to live, that sort of thing of like, try everything. If you don't like it, at least you said you tried it at least once. And so to me, I think we would have come across each other, but I think it would have taken us a lot longer than it did if we had not met through this means. And I think you guys do really put yourselves out there a lot, and I think it's really cool. Like I want to get into now, like what I'd love to understand again, how you guys do all of this, with podcasting. You also have a YouTube channel that you guys also do social media a lot too, because I know that you guys are, so at one point you were taking cold plunges, you were getting your cold plunge on.
You're following the journey.
Yeah. So it's like these types of things of like, I feel closer and bonded to you. And I know that there's a lot that goes into making these social media pieces happen, but I'd love to just kind of get into it now of like, you guys have these entities. How do you keep all the plates spinning, so to speak?
Very carefully.
Yes.
Well, Brad can talk a little about that because he is the person who makes sure that the plates are spinning, and I'm the person who puts it out there. So
yeah.
I'm happy to give the high level overview of all the things.
Yeah.
Want me to do that?
Yeah, please. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I'd love to.
I think you have to give me the permission to share.
Yeah. Go ahead and send it. Hold on. There it goes.
Okay. So we have a company. Our company's called As the Crows Fly. We are the crows.
Awesome.
And these are our beasts. We are our pups here. But we empower the world through Pilates. That's like ultimately our goal, what we do.
Yeah.
And from that, we have created 4 different brands. So we have onlinepilatesclasses.com. Then we have Profitable Pilates. We have Lesley Logan Pilates, which is her personal brand. And then we have Crow's Nest Retreats.
Nice.
And each of these is a full-blown business with team behind it that helps us run, execute different clients for each of these brands. And it's really interesting. You ask, how do we manage all that? We believe so much in understanding and knowing your strengths and then operating from those strengths. When we first got started working together back in 2019, it was organic for me to come in and do operations because that's what I had been doing for my job.
Yeah.
Right. So obviously it made sense, and I'm planning and I'm doing, and I'm like effectively like producing, making sure things happen, whatever. And we got ourselves a business coach, and she sat down with us and we had this like dream session of like, what could life look like? What do you want to be doing in the business? All the things. And it was amazing. At the end of the conversation, she started laughing and she said, "You two are in the wrong roles." And we're like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "Well, you're definitely, you're doing ops, but you're the CEO, and you're being the CEO, and you don't want to take any meetings, and you should actually be the visionary and like the product person."
Because who doesn't know, like when you start a company, like they make you the CEO and the president, right? Like that's what they make you.
Yeah.
And but I don't want to be
the founder and CEO.
I don't want to be in any meeting with. I don't want to manage anyone. Like that's not my thing.
And I feel the exact same way. I'm you. I'm like I literally like I started this, but I zero intention of wanting to operate the meetings or anything. I let Britt to do all that.
Yeah, that's how you want to do it. That sounds like a great idea. Go do it. And then it's like, oh, did they do it? I don't know.
So when we switched hats, it really changed the dynamic of the business because our focus on our products got way better because Lesley had more time to focus on that. Our engagement with our customers got way better. Then like with me shifting into the CEO role, I had to replace myself in operations, and we brought somebody on to focus on that. And that freed me up to stay like high level, looking at all things, making sure that it's all happening. And, over time now the team has grown. It's been a bunch of years. We've got, more than 30 people on the team.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
To be able to manage all the things.
And the plates spin because we figured a system that works for us and we use people's strengths. And then we really try hard not to have too many things happening at the same time amongst different businesses. Meaning,
got it.
If we're launching something in the business coaching, we're not launching something in the Pilates online stuff.
Yeah.
We look at a calendar in advance. And then for anyone listening, you can insert yourself here. Consistency is key. We've just been really consistent over time. Nothing that we have like turned to gold right away. I wait for the hockey stick moment that everyone talks about. Like you just go and go, and then it just goes.
I swear.
And the truth is it's like, it's kind of like the stock market. If you look at it every single day, it's up, it's down, it's up, it's down. But if you look at the last 30 years, you can see it's actually always going up.
Yeah, slowly,
awesome.
slowly.
So you can't live on the emotions of the day to day. You have to go, what is our goal? And we stay really clear on like, is this part of our goal or is this a shiny object?
Yeah.
And especially for you and Britt can probably relate to this. When you have a podcast, when you have a medium, when you are a public figure in air quotes, because I really hate that title.
I get it.
but people want you to collaborate with them. And of course we want to collaborate with people, but we have to often take a second go. That was really flattering. How does that work with what we're doing? So it's not a distraction or a stress on the team. And that's hard to do because sometimes but I want to do that. Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, but where does it work? And can we be honest about like how that's going to affect what we're doing? And is it in line with the goals that we have?
I love it. I love it. So here's where I like to kind of, because we've started talking about services and products and things like that, where I like to get, because I find a lot of interest in getting into the weeds part. So I'll ask you both separate because I've been doing this so far. Lesley, are there moments where, I guess for you in particular, for me, I get discouraged sometimes when I'm like, I don't feel like a public figure and I don't want to record. I don't want to do these types of things. How do you overcome those moments of like really just feeling like a false idol, so to speak, and just feeling like that kind of thing? And for Brad, I would love to get to you of like how one a like there's got to be a moment in your world where it's like this technical thing goes beyond me, or like technical piece that goes be over my head and I need to find help through other means. And do you get discouraged, or do you have a hard time asking for help in those moments? So let's start with Lesley.
All right. So this is where I'll say it's really important to know yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate saying that cliche, like get to know yourself, but you got to know yourself.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say I'm a female with a cycle, and it's actually proven with hormones that there's a couple weeks every month I don't actually want to be on camera. Yeah. So we try really, really hard to reduce. Like we look at the schedule, we like try really hard to reduce what is expected of me on those days facing forward. Now that doesn't mean I'm not, like I still have to, because they're like the team can't work off that all the time. But my assistant is like 7 hours on Zoom is not an option. Mm-hmm. You know, like she can do, we have to move these things around. The other thing we also do is I try not to wear too many hats on the same day. Okay. So this week that we're doing, I'm podcasting a lot. Yeah. I'm not teaching a lot of Pilates. I'm not filming a lot of Pilates. I'm not doing a lot of the other stuff. Yeah. Now that doesn't mean I'm not checking on the team and working on some things, but we really try to make sure that what hat am I wearing stays there so that I can actually show up at the best. And what happens is because I'm doing a lot of podcasting this week, every podcast sounds great. But if I had to podcast, then coach someone, then film a Pilates tutorial, that's a lot to keep in mind for anybody. So I think that's really helpful. The other thing is like, yes, I do the social media, but guess what? The world will go on without me. And if I take 5 days or a week off, I get rewarded by the algorithm when I finally come back and post. They make your next post really huge. So I don't worry about taking breaks on that so much. And I think like, the other part of that is if you are this public figure, just be honest with people. I've had a really rough week. You know, like when we had to say goodbye to one of our dogs, I was like, I feel like shit. So I'm not posting for you right now because I'm going to be taking care of myself. Yeah. And people actually like that. And then the last thing I'll say is like, I'm constantly trying to make sure I'm not creating a cult. Like I'm really trying to make sure that that's not happening. And so I like to create communities and I like to create groups, but I like that when the groups actually are connecting on their own. I don't see that as like, ooh, what are they doing without me? It's like, good, go like be yourself, because I think, if it becomes all about me all the time, that actually isn't serving the point of why I started this thing. And so, for sure. So that's kind of how I do it. But I would just say, like, for everyone listening, get a schedule and stick to the schedule. And if it's not working anymore, change it so that you are giving back to yourself, and have a self-care routine. My self-care routine takes 3 hours every morning. And I don't think it's indulgent at all. It actually is how I can show up for other people because I've taken care of myself.
Yeah. Thank you for being so like deliberate on all those different scales, because it's like sometimes that you bring up the cult part, but I'm like that too, where it's like, geez, am I doing the right thing? Like by saying these words, or at least, giving someone this platform to speak. And that is a hard thing to take in when I'll be honest, I'm a Libra, and I'm like, I want everyone to like me. That's the thing that I've always kind of been like, that's true about me. I'm a Libra and I want everyone to like me. And so it's like, that's just kind of how I am. But it's like one of those things. It's like, I really do get those moments of like, am I doing this right? Or am I giving enough to these people who are on my show? So,
I mean, that's a sign you're not a narcissist. So good job.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Brad, please, because I know from the perspective of being one of the tech guys that like services this website and the podcast and making sure that things are, it's like, Sometimes I do feel like I'm not that smart and I know that I don't know everything. So it's like in those moments of like, help me, where do you turn to?
Well, uh, when we were sitting down with that business coach,
Mhm.
she said, "What do you envision?" And I said, "I envision being surrounded by an epic team that can execute the
Mhm.
goal that we put in front of them
Yeah.
and execute it incredibly well." And it always comes back to strengths for me. So we
Mhm.
took how do you know your strengths? Leslie was talking about knowing yourself. I'm going to share my screen one more time
Sure.
because I pulled it up while we were talking there.
Yeah.
We believe in Clifton's strengths test. It's
Nice.
quick,
Okay.
easy. It's not that expensive. It's also easy to wrap your head around,
Yeah.
and it's easy to identify what are your strengths. And then what we started doing was when other people started coming to the company, we had them take the test too. We get the
Awesome.
results and we can look at it and go, wow, you're really good at that. And so maybe these things would be up your alley because those are your strengths. And it
Yeah.
allows the person on the team to succeed at their job, feel good about it because they're working in their zone of genius.
Mhm.
I'm sure you heard that phrase. And then it allowed me to assess what I was doing, which guess what? Can I code? Yeah. Should I be coding? No. Right? Should I be learning CSS? No. Like, can I get in there and build the web page? Yeah. But there are other people who they eat that stuff. They eat, breathe, and sleep, and it's they're
Yeah.
passionate about it. Can I do it? Sure. Am I passionate about it? Not really. And so it was not that complicated to like identify someone else is better at it than me. Now, knowing that they can do it better than me is different than relinquishing control.
That's true. Yes.
Right. And so there's a really this we've all heard of the solopreneur, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that it there's a part of the story that we tell ourselves as a solopreneur that does us a disservice. And it's this inherent understanding that I'm not going to have the money to go outsource or hire other people or whatever. So
Mhm.
therefore, I'm going to do it all myself and I'm going to get it done. And at the beginning, when you're bootstrapping it, you're figuring it all out, it's a need because you don't
Yeah.
have the resources to outsource in that manner. But
Yeah.
what happens is we get stuck in that idea that we have to be the one that does all the things. I've been doing it this way the whole time, and I know and I can just get it done really fast. And it puts us in this. Well, you end up micromanaging if and when you do bring people on because
Mhm.
it's actually an ego thing. It's like, well, I was always the one that did that, so that makes me feel good when I check that thing off of my list.
Yeah.
And so it literally, I had to go get an executive coach and I worked with him for 18 months to help me get the hell out of the way from the team
That's awesome.
because I was ending up being a bottleneck because I
Yeah.
was like, everything's got to run through me and I got to look at every single thing and I got to do all that stuff and I want to approve it and blah, blah, blah. And like, yeah, there's a point where I should be doing the high level approvals, but like I was so in the weeds with them that
Yeah.
like I wasn't letting the team make the decisions that they are quite qualified to make.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, like this is what they do. They don't need me to they don't need me, and so it took time to
Yeah.
shift gears and to get step back. And so, today I was laughing because I came across a problem.
Mhm.
And for one of the few times, in the business, I was like, I don't even know the answer to this. So like, I don't know the answer to this. I have to go back to my team and say,
Yeah.
hey guys, I found a problem. Can you please fix it? I wouldn't even know where to begin. And
Yeah.
it made me laugh because I was like, I'm like completely,
Yeah. You've shifted so much that it's like out of your realm now.
yeah, yeah. And that's a win because the truth is, like I said at the beginning, I could do it, but my strengths are actually communication, sales, marketing,
I love that.
right? And so what if I stayed in my lane and those guys, stayed in their lanes and we can work together still and they can excel and I can actually do more for the company with the limited time that we have,
Mhm.
than if I was trying to build websites still. So yeah, I mean, there was definitely a mindset shift that I had to go through
Yeah.
to get to that place. But I'm so excited that
I love
that
that.
now I'm focusing on sales and marketing because
That's
I actually
really
really love it.
it's really encouraging. I mean, again, it's like you guys seem so put together, but at the same time, you're divulging so much to us on these different things that, again, we all, as entrepreneurs or as business owners or whatever you want to call us, it does highlight those areas where we feel like it will come up sooner or later in the thing that we love doing and what we're passionate about. Because when you move into that world of taking the thing that you're passionate about and making it something where people can either use in services or whatever products, things like that, where you actually make it into a business, you run into those areas of concern. You run into those hiccups or run into those ideas, thoughts in your mind of negativity, and it will either deter you and put you in this really weird space of negativity and really push the brakes on what you're trying to do, or it will propel you to want to, go out and seek help or go out and seek the coach that will push you forward and give you the opportunity to grow and to achieve as well. So, I mean, again, I want to say kudos to both of you for being so like who you are and achieving these things, but it's also just kind of like I'm in awe of you guys because it's something that I want to do, something that I hoped and still working on doing for myself and for my own business and making this more than what it is. So I thank you, appreciate you guys sharing those stories. So I will kind of shift gears. We're going to move into like the goal setting and things like that. I know it can be a little bit weird because where we stand right now, you guys are actually on a new shift point where you guys are going into a tour, and I would love to hear more about it. Lesley, can you share a little bit about what this tour is going to be, and then some other, maybe goals for your community, goals for you yourself personally when it comes to your own kind of training as well?
Yeah. So we are going on tour. It's our 7th tour. And
Awesome.
when we mean tour, my husband, as you heard, was in a band.
Mhm.
So we take Pilates like it's a band gig
Nice.
going on tour. And we actually are going to kick it off and end it in Arizona. So we're kicking off
Awesome.
in Sedona on December 6th, and we're ending in Phoenix, and I think that is on the 8th of January, but I could be wrong.
Nice.
I'm the talent, guys. So we're going to go to 22 different cities, 8,000 miles, and the goal is just because I really do believe in community. We are an online platform, but I do think that like you can have the best of both worlds of meeting people in person, and I love going to these different stops because then our members can meet other members in the area, and then they can connect and hang out and do Pilates. And also we can meet people who have been curious about Pilates. They can bring their friends to it. So going on tour. And we, if it works for you guys can come on our tours. Are always going to be at opc.me/tours. And when you listen to this, like that's where you'll see where our next tour is.
Nice.
And as far as like the goals are, what we're really proud about is that we're not really creating anything new right now. We are focusing on taking what we've created and making it better. And
Nice.
so in the next year, the focus is really on continuing to support our OPC community and grow that, because we are on a mission to do more bodies doing Pilates. We have our 6th physical product that's going to release next year. And yeah, it's really cool. We make flashcards for Pilates. So even if you're not ready,
awesome.
Whether you want to do Pilates with me or not, you can nerd out with Pilates. You can take them with you. There's a mat deck. There's a deck for every piece of equipment. And so you don't have to be a Pilates teacher to love it. I really do love teaching the Pilates enthusiast or the pie curious person, we like to say. And so we're going to release our 6th and final deck in that series. And that means that whole product will be done. We just actually get to like continue to make it better. And, we have shifts and changes going on in the other businesses that are going to make it even better and more accessible in our coaching business. And we're doing our retreats in Cambodia, and we don't so I think that what I hope to share is it sounds like a lot, but what it really is the same thing we've been doing. We're just dialing it in even more. And every time we do something, we go, okay, what went really, really well? We want to keep, and what do we want to change for next time? And how do we make that better? And so having our 7th tour and our 11th retreat and our 6th product, it's kind of fun to just go, okay, we know a lot about these. We've had really amazing successes, and we've had things that didn't go well. How do we make these even better so that they impact the people's lives the way that we anticipated?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things I'm just like amazed by, it's like this sixth product. It's like that's encouraging to like be able to say that, because again, it's like one of the things that I've always kind of had an idea for. It's like, yeah, how do I make what I do or what I'm passionate about into a product? And I've come up with like ideas and stuff like that. And now slowly starting to integrate into actual finding someone to print it or finding someone to make it. And Britt and I have gone back and forth of like, where do we want to start doing this? And so it's like, yeah, we're slowly coming out with a workbook for podcasters. So
I love this.
Yeah.
So needed. And people want physical stuff again. People want the physical journals, and they want to touch things, and it's part of the learning thing. And so, we can offline. That's cool. You should. Here's the thing. The scariest thing is doing it, right? Yeah. Like, let's just say it's doing it. And also you probably told yourself who's going to buy it. And then you probably, if you've looked into printing, you're like, oh my God, I have to have how many printed to like get this.
Yeah. And it's going to cost how much?
And how much? And so when we print a deck of flashcards, it is always like, it's like a $20,000 bill.
Yeah.
Right. And so you have to sell X number of things to get your money back. Absolutely. So then it's just like money sitting there. Right. And so it can be very scary.
Yeah. If you order 1,000 and you sell 100, congrats, you sold 100, but you have 900 that are, there's money sitting in 900.
Yeah. And then every time you sell one of those, you got to prepare for the next print. So what I'll say that, like, if I can give you any advice, is don't hide this idea from people. I know you've said it here, but like, bring them along on the journey and get them excited.
I'm super stoked.
And we actually pre-sell our products now. So our 6th deck will go on pre-sale, which means people are investing in the item before we hit print. So then
we're putting money aside, but we're not, we don't have to like put our business at risk to like,
it's kind of like a Kickstarter.
It's like
absolutely.
It's literally like that. Yeah.
I love
it. We're doing it internally.
And then when they print, those people get their items first, and then they're excited, and it gives us another boost to it.
Yeah.
And, and again, they're here to help people. And so your products are to help people. So people want to be part of the growth of that and the process of that. So absolutely do it.
Thank you. That really does encourage me. I'm so like, what you guys bring out on this kind of like very professional, very routine like thing that's like scheduled tours. And I know that you guys have worked to make this more of this is a routine thing that happens with us. But I know from Brad's perspective too, I'd love to like understand how you keep your creativity going, for one thing, because with these goals and these kind of retreats, products and stuff like that, you can kind of get to a point where it's like running out of steam is a thing. And I love to kind of like you have this really cool thing about you where it's like, I know that you have 1,000 things in your pocket. Like, I really want to know, it's like, have you ever run out of creativity, or have you ever had writer's block, so to speak?
Great question. Going back to strengths, Lesley is an ideas machine.
Okay.
What's really interesting is my strength is in execution.
Okay.
Right. And so, more often than not, I will actually take the problem to Lesley, and then we'll just talk through it, because she like has idea after idea after idea after idea. And I get to effectively cherry pick the ones that I'm like, oh yeah, we should do that. That right there is gold. Let's go do that. Or maybe we need to modify some things. We need to come up with a new way. Like, like we one of our business coaching programs that we did for Profitable Pilates was a week-long event where people could come in and they could get coaching from us and they could get to know us. And we ran it like, I don't know, 10 times over 5 years or something like that. And each time we would have a debrief after the fact, and we would say, what went well, what didn't go well? What do you think we might want to change this time? Shift change, whatever. Because when we do it the next time, how do we make it easier on us? How do we make it easier for them to understand what it is that we're wanting them to do? You know, all that kind of stuff. So we would have like a post-event, like deep dive brainstorm.
I called it an autopsy, but they don't like that.
So just like, it's a little morbid for us. What are you talking about?
Yeah. They're like, no, it's called a debrief. And I'm like, whatever. It's the same thing.
Whatever.
You're like, you're investigating. How did this person go? Like, what happened here?
Yeah. But
Post-mortem.
But yeah, post-mortem. Exactly. Yes. But there's a, when it comes to creativity, being a songwriter, that's what I went to college for. So literally our teachers would be like, okay, see you next week. Bring a new song. And it was like, what?
What?
Okay. I guess I better write a song.
Better get inspired somehow.
Yeah, exactly. And what I learned through working with, taking classes and doing all the things and being put on stage and all that was it's a muscle.
Yeah.
It's a habit.
Yeah.
Right. And the more that you stay in your zone or in the groove, as it were, the more creative you're going to be, because when you put yourself in the space to be creative, you're probably ideating far more stuff than just what you're working on.
Sure.
And you're like, oh, that's a cool idea. And you put it on a piece of paper and you put it on the side. That's a cool idea. And you put it on the side. And so the next time when you sit back down, you're like, I had this really great idea yesterday that I'm going to work on that today. And it gets really exciting. My dear friend is a producer. And he has been doing that process now for 15 years.
Wow.
Right. And so when he's like, I don't know what to work on today, he pulls open the archives and he's like, oh, I remember that thing I started 6 years ago with this cool guitar riff on this thing. Now is the time for me to dig in on that. And then he can take that his own inspiration from his own thing that was just a tiny little snippet. And then maybe that's what he expands into something else, or he can overlay it and whatever. So the more that you're creative, the more that it allows you to be creative.
Yeah, you're completely correct. James Altucher, many, many years ago, was on the podcast first started, and like very few people are listening. I listened and he said, I ideate. I make myself write down 3 new ideas every day because it's a muscle. And he's like, also, I'll share them with you because only 98% of you will take, like 98% of you won't take action. So there's 2% of you listening who might take action on one of these ideas. And even if we both do it, it'll be different. So he was just like really thoughtful about that. And I think like, if you're already journaling in the morning, you're already meditating, I have an ideas parking lot because like Brad says, he cherry picks the ideas. I'll come to the team, like, we do this. And they're like, when do you want to do that? Because we're actually really busy. So like, how badly do you want that? Yeah. And if we do that, we can't do this. And so I'm like, it's going to go on the ideas parking lot because I want to do that more. But like, I think that's where that comes from. And so you just have to give yourself permission to not work on the idea right away, but always have a place to put them.
Yep. I think the moral of the story is keep sticky notes around and keep a whole like everything. I
like the big
find
one.
An organization that works for you.
Yes, exactly.
Because if it was a sticky note thing, you'll have a million of them. Trust me, I tried that. Yeah. So there comes a point where you have to make an adjustment. I
follow this one guy who's like trying, because he's ADHD and he's kind of owned his own company, and he's always trying to figure out the best means for his his routines, like what I need to keep in, to-do lists and all these things, like different means of like writing down stuff and writing down ideas and all of that, keeping organized, so to speak. And he's just like constantly got this grid of sticky notes, but also it's got notebooks on top of it. I'm like, I want to be this kind of person. I also know that I have a 3-year-old who's just as easily going to rip every single one of those pages. Oh yeah. If I keep it somewhere in his arm length reach, he's just going to open it. And I'm like, there goes my day.
Brad has, I'll just quote him. He always says the system that works for you, that you'll work, is the best one. Yeah. And for the ADHD people, like,
I have a recommendation for that.
I think you have to figure out, you have to figure out with a system that you can manage that helps you manage you. Yeah. And it is interesting because my system that helps me manage me does not really work for a team that's neurotypical. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know, hire someone who is, so that you can have someone can decipher it. Like this is how I have to work. Yeah. And it's not like everyone can be not everyone can be super selfish, but we also have to figure out, how do you manage you? You have to manage yourself so that you can get the things done to the team when they need it. And it's not easy, but it also, Rome wasn't built in a day. And I love that you think that we're so, like, everything looks so good. I've been teaching Pilates since 2008. I've been working for myself since Rob built a website for me in 2014. I've been on YouTube since 2014. The podcast dropped in 2021. Like nothing started at the same time. And the messy versions, like if you all, I'm sure even yours, go listen to the first episodes of anything and see how far anyone's come.
Oh, I was in a garage in episode 1. I was literally in a garage.
My first YouTube video, we had no mic and no tripod because
I was holding the camera myself, and I was like, "Is this 4 minutes? I can't keep it still."
2014, tripods on Amazon were $125.
Yeah.
They were so expensive in 2014. Back when I was young, you don't know, like they were so expensive back then that it was like I charge $125 an hour. I have to I didn't even charge $125 at that time. I think I charged like $100, maybe if I was lucky. So I had to go more than 1 hour's work to get a tripod. So I was like, no, you hold that and be still. And then an ambulance would go by. So we'd have to stop, start again.
Hold for sound.
So I think everyone has to give themselves permission to be new at something. And also that messy action, you'll figure out what's working and not working. You'll get yourself a system that works for you.
Okay. So for all of you ADHD people out there who are working on a computer, I had to figure this out when I used to work in the office, and then I started working from home. And this is like years ago. So way before COVID. And I realized I would rather do my dishes than work because I'm distracted by the thing. And I'm my brain skips around a lot. So I have these ideas and I follow this trail, and then I hopefully work my way back to what I was actually working on, maybe. Right. And I realized it wasn't going to work for me to continue to do that. And so I found out about this process called GTD, or getting things done. And it's a system created by some guy whose name I don't remember, but you can look up GTD. And the idea is pretty simple. You sit down in the morning and you have some time set aside to do what they call a brain dump. And you get everything that is all the chaos that's in your head of I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to do this for me, I got to do this for my mom, I got to do this for my job, I got to do this for this. You get it all out of your head and you get it in front of you, and then you can organize it and you can put it into priority. Right. And so initially I was doing it on a notepad. I thought this was really helpful, really great. Or I was doing sticky notes so I could move them around and I could look at them and be like, done, throw it in the trash, and then I got tired of writing because it was slow. And I found a tool. It's a task management tool called OmniFocus.
Okay.
And what was so cool about OmniFocus is that I could create some hotkeys on my computer. So I don't know, Shift Option Space, bam. I programmed it myself.
You're all seeing how his brain works right now.
And what would happen with it is it opens up a mini little note, and it just pulls it up, and I can type, take out the garbage, and then I can enter, and then the note goes away.
Nice.
And so what it allowed me to do was keep my project, my task in front of me that I'm currently working on, but that stray thought that is probably going to distract me, I can save it in a way that I know I won't lose it later. And then after I'm done, I can go back in and figure out where do I want to put that task, because I remembered this thing I have to do, and that changed the game for me, because suddenly I knew I wasn't going to forget the thing, whatever the thing was that was going to distract me anyway. I could save that as a note for myself, and then I could stay focused on the thing I was actually needing to get done at the time. So anyway, I wish that we could still use that tool with a team, but it really only works for one person.
For one person,
I don't know. Maybe over the years they figured out how to grow it to be a team management tool. But at the time when we started to have a team, that wasn't going to do the job anymore. So, but find a system that works for you and just work that system.
Well, thank you again, both of you. I mean, this has been a great conversation just from my perspective of someone who wants to continue forward doing the things that I want to do in a very creative, highly, space of creativity and focus and just nuance that you guys also have now. You put a system in place. Now you have other businesses, other teams doing the work and creating, and it's a constant flow. So I am very encouraged by what you guys are offering, but also very encouraged about what you guys are going to put out in the future. So thank you again for both sharing who you are, sharing a little bit about your business, and I hope to meet you guys in the near future. That was Siri going there for a second. Sorry about that.
You can use Siri, guys, as your system too.
Exactly. You can use her as well. But before I go and before we go and move on to some more recording, because we're going to do one for your podcast, I would love to get you guys, because I feel like you both have like a favorite quote. If I could get those from each of you, I would love to hear it. And then we'll let Lesley take us to the end of promoting where you can find both of you online, all the social medias, anything you want people to go check out. It'll be your chance to promote. Okay. Sound good?
Yeah. Brad, do you have a quote? You want me to go first?
I have a quote. It's apparently, I just looked it up because I have no idea who said it, but we have it on our wall. And it's originally a proverb from Burkina Faso. Okay. I don't know. It's an African proverb. I have no idea who that even is, but it's, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Yeah.
And that's been something that I've always been a team sports guy. I'm not a golfer. I'm not a Frisbee golfer. Put me out in the field, whether it's ultimate Frisbee or soccer or whatever. Yeah. And because as a team, we can accomplish great things. We can actually, go all the way and win. And when I was in the solopreneur mindset, it did feel really isolating. It felt like I was on an island. And then that's why I got so excited to partner up with Lesley, because it was a team again. It was two of us. And we're going to do it together. We got each other's backs. And then as the team has grown over the years, it's unbelievable to me to see where the company has shifted, changed, and grown to, and what we're able to deliver and the quality of it and all those things. Like, not a chance could we have done that by ourselves. Yeah. Or if we did, maybe we could have only done one of them. Right. Mm-hmm. But there's no way we could have been able to deliver all the things that we do without a team. So yeah.
Absolutely.
So I don't know if I coined it or someone else has said it before me. I'm going to assume that I'm not the first person to say this, but perfect is boring. And I think that's when you're feeling stuck, it's probably because you're trying to be perfect about it. If you're feeling not confident, it's probably trying to be perfect about something. Yeah. And so I really try to mind myself about that, because we make mistakes. You say the wrong word and you take it back. And we're always so worried about people calling us out on something. Mm-hmm. But honestly, if you can remind yourself perfect is boring, if that does happen, you go, oh my God, I'm a human being. I made a mistake. You can kind of laugh it off and you can move forward. So you don't let those things keep you stuck or small or not doing the thing that you want to do. You can find us, if you want Pilates in your life, you can find us at onlinepilatesclasses.com. Come on our tour, join us in Arizona or wherever you are. We're hitting so many states. If you want to follow the journey, Brad doesn't really do socials like him. So it's me at Lesley, Lesley.Logan. And I share the dogs. I share Brad. I share about our cold plunges and the morning routines and different things. So
then we have the pod. So
we have the pod, the thing we're talking about. Yeah. So, Be It Till You See It podcast. Be It Till You See It. Whenever you listen to this podcast, you can listen to ours. Yeah. And we bring on guests every week who teach me something cool about being it till you see it or why you can't. And it's a variety of topics. And then Brad comes and shares his 2 cents on Thursdays about what they said. And then I say what I think. So it's quite fun. And on Fridays, we celebrate it because Fridays is F Yeah Friday. And it's because and a lot of people don't celebrate their wins as they're happening. They don't do it every day. Yeah. And so on Fridays, I share wins of our listeners, and then I share a win of ours for the week. And then we have a little mantra, and it's a great way to enter your weekend with good things are happening.
Yes, I love it. I love what you're bringing to the table, and I think everyone should go out and seek Be It Till You See It. It's going to be a lot of fun for those who are listening for the very first time, and we do have a little outro for ourselves. You can hear every episode of our podcast at findingarizonapodcast.com. Make it easy for you guys to connect with us social media-wise, Finding Arizona Podcast under everything. And last but not least, we end every conversation with the kisses, hugs, and belly rubs to our four-legged friends. We will see you next time.